Hello and welcome back. I'm Lincoln, and today is the 28th day of October, which means our sculpt for the day was wall with mantle, and I did kind of a crazy wallpaper in the background too. All right, I'm going to put up the rest of the prompt list now. I know this is another fairly easy sculpt, but I do go in depth with how to make the wallpaper in Procreate, and it's fairly easy. Hey, let's grab your iPad or other device, and let's go make a mantle. All right, let's go up and delete the default sphere. I'm going to add a box, and I'm going to keep this one pretty simple. We're just going to go do a single wall, and I'm going to go ahead and enlarge that a bit so we got kind of something to work with. And let's go ahead and move it up towards the bottom of the grid. That way when everything brings in, and just we'll get the grid kind of out of our way in a little while. All right, that looks good right there. We can go and validate it. I'm going to go ahead and bring the resolution up because I do want to paint wallpaper on it later. So we'll get that done first. All right, so let's add let's see. I'm going to go ahead and keep these labeled. That way we don't, because we're going to have a lot of boxes in here. So let's just keep this squared away to begin with. Add another box. Squeeze this down, make this the mantle, the start of it anyway. And that looks fine. Let's bring this in. I know that's going to be way more than we really want. That looks good. Alright, so that one we'll just call mantle for now. And I'm not going to validate it yet because I'm going to shape it more in a little bit, but first we'll just start this process. All right, add another box. And this will be the uprights beside the fireplace, and we won't do the fireplace in this video yet. We're just going to do the wall and the mantle first. Now, what I'm going to do is solo this one, and we're going to shape this one first. And solo this, be a lot easier to deal with. Okay, all right, let's widen this up a little bit. That looks pretty good. Maybe still a little on the thick side. About right there, maybe. All right, so I was kind of thinking, you know, kind of a cartoony coffin shape for each side, kinda, just that kind of a hint. So we can go ahead and validate this now, and you know the wire's pretty big, but we'll see how well this trims, and it usually does pretty well. Now, if you leave something, you know, normally I like to shrink this all the way down real thin like a pancake when I'm cutting, but that's usually when I'm using the rectangle, the ellipse, or the polygon. Those don't cut as well when it's thicker, but the line and the lasso do pretty good. So we're going to start with the line, and we'll just cut the two. And I think I will go ahead and use symmetry on this, and we'll see how well this cuts. Now I have this up here. If you go into this menu for the settings for the trim, I have the rotate step all the way off so you can just pick where you want to cut. Right now, I want the top like that. Now the bottom, I want to kind of leave a little step at the bottom. So I just want to kind of bring, you know, just a hint of a coffin shape in. So we'll do it like that. That looks pretty good. I like that. Maybe a little bit more at the bottom. Like that. There we go. That's much better. That's perfect. Okay, so now we got two of those, or we will have two of those rather. Now I think what I'll do is clone this and maybe do a little bit more of a coffin shape on the inside. Now as you can see, you know, the mesh is pretty messy on the sides, so let's go ahead and just fix that. And I'm going to go ahead and bring the resolution up because we're going to cut, remesh. All right, so you can see there, that's much better. And I think what I'm going to do is speed it up real quick. I'm just going to flatten these sides off just to start giving it a little bit of shape real quick. And I'll be right back. Alright, I'm going to use the select mask and the polygon tool, and I'm going to leave symmetry on, and I'm just going to select an area on here. I think that looks pretty good. So everything's good, it's symmetry, and we're gonna hit this. Okay, now it's got some jaggedness to it, so I'm gonna leave it on select mask and tap on the mask and soften it. You'll see those edges clean up a little bit. All right, now I'm gonna tap on the outside to switch the mask. Use the gizmo, and you can see here this side is not masked, or it's masked as well, and I'm not too worried about that. I just want to suck this in and give this a little bit of a detail right here, and that looks good. And we'll go back to mask, pull on the, whoops, pull, it doesn't matter which one really, pull that out and it'll clear it. Grab the smooth tool, and we're just going to smooth these off a little bit and knock those harsh edges off. That looks pretty good. Now you go a little bit more in detail, smoothing that if you want, but I'm just going to leave that right here for now, and that looks pretty good for what we're doing so far. Now I want to add, we're going to turn solo back off. I want to add another box and just give this a little bit of detail at the bottom. So let's grab another box, and we're just going to bring it over and put it underneath this one. So give it a little bit more detail. You know, mantles, you know, and fireplaces usually have lots of little steps to them, especially if they're like stone, kind of like what I'm thinking about using here. And that just kind of gives it a little bit more detail. So we have that right there. I'm just going to bring this step down just a little bit. And this one, I don't know if I want to round it. I think I will. Just kind of give it a nice pillowy look. So we'll come up to the subdivision menu, subdivide it, bring the division down. You'll see it gets nice and round. And we just need to adjust until it looks good. And I like the way that looks. I'll extend it up, and then we'll just trim the bottom off of the floor. That looks good right there. I like that. Okay, and then the other thing I was going to do, actually I'm going to bring that down because we are going to end up putting the skull on here. So I think what I'm going to do is grab this and both of those and shrink them down just a little bit. That looks good, I like that. Okay, put it about right there. Now I'm going to come in here. Now the box, we can go ahead and validate that one, it's good to go. And what we're going to do is put this underneath here, so those two are connected. Grab both of those, and we're going to add a mirror. Now that's the cool thing, if you guys haven't seen this yet, you can totally sculpt and validate objects and mirror them. You can rotate, copy, all kinds of stuff. So if you guys haven't seen that, I'll have a list of the other videos up that I have going. And that looks pretty good right there. We're fine with that. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is go ahead and bring in the skull. So we're going to come over here to the folder icon, add to scene, and just go down wherever the skull's at. There it is, right there. Add skull to the scene, yes. Now for this one, I'm going to take care of the eyes. We'll get rid of the eyes. So I'm going to open up the skull, turn off the whole thing. Now if you have these two selected, I can come up and hit delete and they're gone. All right, so for the skull, I'm going to go ahead and just paint it. Paint all. It doesn't matter, just so it's a little more uniform look. It really doesn't matter too much. Now I probably should have done this before I copied that, but that's okay, or mirrored it. We could always get rid of the mirror, but that's all right. I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to turn off snapping because I want to adjust this so it just touches the top. And we just need to size it a little bit. I want it a little bit bigger. Maybe like that. Nice big skull. And that looks pretty good. So for in this case, I'm just going to clone it and drag it across, and that'll be close enough. Okay, now that we kind of got that set, I'm going to bring the wall down just a little bit to match those. Close enough. Looks good. All right, so I'm going to clone this one real quick and clone that one. Bring it down. Shaping, size it down. I guess I should have not squeezed it so much. All right, it's underneath. Now on these, it kind of depends on what you want to do. I'm going to round the top one up. This one right here. I'm going to come in and subdivide it and bring top so it's kind of like a round one, and I like that, so I will go ahead and validate it. Now this one underneath, we're going to do something a little different with. We're going to solo that one. Now if you look at the mesh, it's pretty big, you know, there's only 3 on there, and what we're going to do is go ahead and validate it now. What I'm going to do is grab the mask and put it on rectangle, and we're going to come up and just grab one block basically, and you don't see much, but when you start to expand or squeeze, things happen. So I think I'm going to do the other side. Instead, we need to bring the mask down a little bit further, so maybe about right there. All right, now you can sharpen them, and soften them, but we're going to leave it as sharp as it'll go. We're going to use the Gizmo, and the cool thing is you can shape that and make a real easy, quick shape with it. So that looks good right there. I'm going to go to the mask, pull the mask and clear it, and we will go ahead and this one though, we need to, since I want to put marble texture on it, we need to increase the resolution. 500-ish is good. Perfect. All right. And the mask is clear. That's good. Turn the wire off. Turn off solo. And now we just need to grab these two and increase the size so they fit. Or actually what I'll do is I'm going to bring those in together and the 2 columns. All right, so that we could bring down. Oops, got the wrong one. This one. There we go. That looks pretty good. That's a nice stately haunted manor. Looks good. And what we're going to do is start fixing some things. So that's mantle. These 2 are mantle top. So what I'm going to do is touch these together. So they're now a thing. Now the box, mirror box. So we need to look at these. And we're good. Box and box. Okay, so those 2. So I'm going to just put the skulls in here and put those together. That way they're all together as one, and we can move things around. Now if we shrink this way, you'll see, whoops, if we have the whole thing selected We come in here and select all of this. If you squeeze in, it will narrow, but then you see the skulls squeeze. So if I just want to bring these two together, the mirror, let's see, because I'm not sure if this will work. We might be able to delete that. Nope, it has to stay since it's mirrored. I think though, what I need to do is validate it. Remember, if you join children, those two are together and you can't do anything separate with them. So don't join the children. We'll hit yes. Now what we can do is get rid of this join. We can delete that by itself. And now we have two individual boxes that we can move around together if we like. And what I'm going to do is just kind of bring them both in and, whoops, always have to have it all selected. Oh, you know what, do I have, oh, I didn't put the skulls with, that's what's going on. So I need, I think maybe this one. Is that all together? Nope, wrong skull. Bring this one down, bring this one up, and bring it underneath. And bring this one and put it underneath. And now we have full set. Now we can just move those individually now. So I'm going to bring it in right there, I think. That looks good. Right there. Grab the other set. Bring them in. Just roughly to match. And if you want to get those mirrored perfectly, you know, that's easy enough to do if you want as well. I'm going to just extend the wall. Oops, not that one. I want this one. Extend the thickness of the wall. And it doesn't matter, we're just creating scenes, so it doesn't have to be terribly realistic. That looks good. Alright, so everything should have pretty good mesh on it except this back wall. The back wall, I'm not sure if we did mesh it. Okay, so everything should be in pretty good shape. So I'm going to grab the paint tool. We're going to come up here and change this preset to, doesn't really matter, but it just needs to be flat so it'll grab everything. And we want grab dynamic radius and not dot. And I already have the marble pattern picked. I just have a marble pattern. I have links down below in the description showing you where to find these. You can go to Pexels, Pixels, Unsplash. Those are 3 good sites you can go get different textures for free, and there's no royalty involved with them. Okay, so the texture's on there. I'm just going to grab each one and just start laying the texture down. And it looks pretty good. That wire mesh could be a little bit better. Oh, it is, yeah. It needs to be around 500 or so, and this will pull much cleaner and look much better. Now, if you don't want that hard edge, which we don't really want the hard edge, we can come in to the Catmull ROM, bring this all the way down, and bring this up. So when you open this, it's going to look like that default. So you can just kind of bring this down, and if you do that, you'll end up having a nice feather edge. So now when we pull our paint, let's just go back all of this, and I think I probably need to remesh that still. We're good. Okay. Now when we pull, you can get a nice even texture and you don't have a hard edge. We need to bring the paint intensity up though. So if you come over to the paintbrush, bring the intensity up, and it'll be a lot stronger paint. And I can already see right here, I need to smooth the front of this. So I'm going to grab the smooth brush and just smooth this a little because it has some hard lines, and I don't want those on my sculpt in the scene. And that will look much better. Alright, back to the paint. And now you see how you have that nice fade off to the side, and you can change these around. And the cool thing with the marble texture is if you just kind of lay it over itself again like that, it'll have a nice effect. And it's usually better to do the side you don't see first, like this. And when you rotate it up, if you get any issues, you can just come in and change the color. Now I'm going to leave it like a white marble, maybe white marble, and I'll do maybe black marble for the skulls. Let's see how I like that. So this one won't matter too much because it's just kind of fade them back and forth. And then we'll grab these two. And that's the crazy thing with the mirror, that it's always going to do that for you. So that's kind of the downside I've noticed so far, and I'll keep playing with it and see if I can find a way to break that, so it's not always mirroring your objects. I'm just going to feather this on the side because I'm not too worried about it being absolutely perfect. It's going to be a fairly dark scene, so there's a little bit of issues on there. I'm always going to notice too much. Alright, and I think for the skulls, I want to do black. Alright, so these, let's do a little bit. That way it's a little bit different marble texture for each one. They don't all look terribly identical. Alright, so the skulls, I'm going to go with black marble. So if you come into the paint and change this to a darker color, you can't go straight black. If you go full black, you won't be able to see anything. So we'll just go with a darker color. You know what, maybe with those, I could change a little bit different color. You know, tap these and hit some marble on those. I think maybe with the skulls, I want those to stand out a little bit more. So let's change the color again. Maybe more of a dark green marble. Let's try that. Yeah, that'll be a little better. And it's going to be this green over the brown, but that's good. Gives a little bit different flavor. And we need to do the sides. Alright, last thing I want to do is do wallpaper on the back wall. So, easiest way to do that is to use the paint, and we're going to go into Procreate and show you how to make a stripe. I want to do a striped wallpaper, so we'll go do that right now. Now on this one I already have my stack made with a couple, and I have it set up so I've got 500 by 500 pixel canvases with 300 DPI, and I'll have a link to the video showing you how to make these. Alright, so we're going to, whoops, that's not what I want to do. Close that out. Let's grab one of these. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is go into the canvas and drawing guide, and we're going to edit drawing guide. Now bring this up. You got to drag your finger across the top up here to change the color. It doesn't matter, just pick a color that you can see well, and I usually come over here. And you can adjust the thickness if you want, and the opacity a little bit if you need to. And the biggest thing here is just adjust it. I don't know, it's hard to tell what size it is, but I'm adjusting it so I've got room for lines in there. And click on assisted drawing and click done. Alright, so now we have everything in here. We're going to grab our brush, calligraphy, monoline. It's the easiest one for what we're doing. It pulls nice. And I'm going to start with a smaller line and grab, you know, nice dark green. Now you notice normally when you open this up, you're in the disk. I went to the classic, and to show you that if you move this around in the value range, you can get different values. And if you pick like a green that's in the darker, and then we pick a purple that's a lot lighter between those two, you see those moving between the two. If you use this as another alpha besides a paint color alpha, if you use it just as a stripe alpha of some sort, just to show you an example that you can make the height difference with colors as well, as long as they have a different value. Okay, so we got a good green picked, and cool thing about this is if you pull, you can be all over the place wiggling, and it won't you won't lose anything. It'll stay right on your line, and that's the assisted drawing action. That's a pretty cool feature in here. It makes it a lot easier to pull all these lines we got to pull. Okay. All right. Now let's increase the size, and I basically want to do a stripe like I think in between here, and that looks pretty good. And you can certainly do any other pattern or anything else, and you don't have to do this at all. I just want kind of a cool, almost like the Disney Haunted Mansion, some of the stuff on there is, I know a lot of it's the purple with the black pattern, but I want the black and the green pattern, and they have this one too. But I'm going to add a purple with it too, and we go up just a little bit. I want like a lot of change in the value range. Let's go a little bit smaller size, and we'll go, I think, right over the top of this. That'll work good. Now, if you end up having more layers, which is absolutely fine, the best way to do this, to import it, because you'll have several layers, it's always best to put them together. So if you're in here, you have another layer, you want to combine them, just pinch them together so you have one layer. And this is where you see too, you have an assisted layer. If you add a layer, it doesn't have the assist, but if you tap on it, you can come down and hit drawing assist, and that would be assisted as well. But we don't need that one, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Just going to keep it fairly simple today. And just pull some lines down. Now the one thing, because this would be crazy out of scale when we go back into Nomad, because this would be like the size, you know, you could pull it the size of the wall that we have. It wouldn't look right, and we want to make it smaller. So the biggest thing is you want to make sure that your distance here, that black and the green stripe, is roughly the same as that, and it's pretty close. It's not terribly off. But if we're in here and we have this layer grabbed, we grab this, you can see that you have the marching ants coming around. If we come over to snapping, magnetics and snapping, we should be able to get this like dead center, and that's center top and bottom. The more important one is side to side, and right there is saying dead center. So when we go to pattern this, that should stay pretty good for us. Now, another thing in here, because I keep getting people asking the difference between the PNGs and JPEGs. JPEGs are obviously going to pull everything off this canvas. We'll go ahead and turn this off. It won't pull that drawing assist. It hides that for you. But the background color, I want the background color black, because if you would think if you pulled a PNG and just had the transparent background, you put the black on your object first, or maybe a red or a green, a different green, whatever. The problem is when you paint on top of that color, they're going to add to each other and get darker. So for this one, I'm going to just pull a JPEG. But if you wanted to pull transparent and paint and play around with the additive things, you can totally do a PNG if you want. But today I'm going to use a JPEG. So back to share, JPEG. And since I'm only doing one, there's a couple different ways to do this. If you're doing several at once and you want to just upload all your thumbnails at one time, you can save to files, Nomad and alphas. That's one way to do it. If you want to do just one at a time, you just do one and you want to just import that, just save it to image, and then you can add it to whatever you want. So it's saved. And on an iPad, that's going to save it to your photos. So when we go to import this, I'm going to grab this, I'm going to solo that. So when we go to Paint, we'll come up here and we can tap on the alpha, import from photos this time, click on it and click add, and it's in there. Now we can go over to the paintbrush, same thing, grab your texture. So this one will import your height, and the paint, even though this is not a stamp, if you're actually going to stamp, that's what this would do. But with paint, this one with the brush, and the color is actually going to import the texture color. So import here, photos, and here. Because you notice this one is in color, this one is in black and white. So you want to do those the same. Now, sometimes, and we'll pull this and see what happens, sometimes you need to invert them pixels, and I think we probably will with this one, but let's try and see what happens. So click on the front, we're on Paint. We need to be on grab dynamic radius and not dot, and let's just pull. Okay, so that, show you real quick where you would be at default with this. When you default pull, you're going to be in 1 unless you've changed this before. So you can see it pulls, but you can just barely see there's anything there. So usually if everything's right, you need to be around 15 to 20 should get you color. So let's come up here and invert the pixels, and sometimes that will help. So we're still kind of black and white. Now, the other thing you have to see, and I'm just showing you everything that could be possibly wrong here. Come in here, come over to white, and that is going to allow your texture to pull like it should. So we should have color, and it's starting to get some color. So we're getting there. So we can come up, just increase your color, and there it is. It's just, you got to hit that magic point where the color comes in. So don't get frustrated. Play around with these, and the cool thing is you can do this with a stamp. You could stamp, and this is going to have different heights because of this alpha is going to give you different heights, and then this alpha is going to give you the color. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to tap back on that now that we have our amount of color we want. Now I'm going to change the tiling, and you'll see here we start to get some lines. And that looks probably pretty good right there. And you notice I have it on repeat and repeat. If you do one or the other, it's going to repeat in a different direction depending on where you're at. So if you have repeat and repeat, it'll do a square pattern for you. And you can tile it as many times as you want, but it'll start getting probably finer than we want. So let's try that. And that looks probably still a little off. So if we solo it, that still doesn't look quite right. So we'll go back in and tile it a couple more times. Pull it, and that's looking better. So really it just depends on your taste and what you want. That's looking pretty good. I think maybe one more time. It depends on how grand you want your wallpaper to be. Maybe one more right there. I think I kind of like that right there. That looks pretty good. That's kind of the look I'm going for. So I'm going to stop there. Oh, I still had a spot in the corner that was no good. Pull that up. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to stop there on this video. And the next one, we'll do the fireplace. Hey, if you guys are enjoying these videos and you're learning something, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. All right, thanks.